Rain hammered the windshield like 1,000 tiny fists as Maddie Rhodes clutched her belly, breathless, alone on the shoulder of the I-405. The contractions hit harder this time, sharper, deeper, as if her body had finally reached its breaking point. She tasted metal in her mouth from the pain, her fingers trembling as she tried to steady herself against the cracked leather seat of her old Toyota. 8 months pregnant with twins, abandoned by everyone she'd once trusted, this was the nightmare she had feared for weeks. Lightning slashed across the Los Angeles sky, illuminating the empty highway. Her phone buzzed weakly, 5% battery. She pressed it to her ear anyway. 911, what's your emergency? I'm in labor, Maddie gasped. My car died. I'm alone. Please hurry. Her vision blurred. Sweat and rain mixed on her skin. Somewhere behind her, a horn blasted. A black Mercedes sped past, splashing cold water across her door. For a second, she thought she saw a face she recognized in the blur of headlights. A cruel smirk she'd once memorized too well. Colton Pierce. Her ex-husband, the man who threw her out of their Beverly Hills home the moment she told him she was pregnant, accusing her of cheating, calling her worthless, insisting the twins weren't his. The man who used her name for tax fraud, then tried to erase her from his life like a stain on his perfect record. He was the last person she wanted to see. Her phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. Help is coming. Hold on, Maddie. Her heart squeezed, not from pain this time, but from disbelief. She hadn't heard from Bo Lancaster in months, the billionaire who once owed her his life after she stopped a lighting rig from collapsing on him at a product launch. The man she bonded with in one quiet night of shared hurt and vulnerability, before she disappeared from his world without explanation. But how could he possibly know she was here? A contraction tore through her before she could finish the thought. Her cry was swallowed by the storm. The twins kicked in panic inside her. She forced herself to focus on the road, on the sirens she prayed would appear. Not yet. Please, not yet. Headlights suddenly flooded her car. Tires screeched. A vehicle pulled sharply in front of her, cutting across the rain-slick asphalt. She shielded her eyes from the glare. Then the door of the luxury SUV swung open. A tall figure stepped out. Her blood froze. It wasn't a paramedic. It wasn't someone offering help. It wasn't even Bo. It was Colton, rage burning in his eyes, rain soaking his suit, voice like a knife. We're not done, Maddie. You're signing what I brought tonight. Her heart stopped, because she realized Colton hadn't come to save her. He'd come to trap her, and she had no escape. But before he could reach her door, another pair of headlights sliced through the storm. Fast, powerful, and heading straight for them. Pain throbbed through Maddie Rhodes' lower back as she tried to push herself upright in the back seat of her stalled Toyota. The rain outside raged like a living thing, pounding the metal roof in violent sheets, but inside the car it was suffocatingly quiet, almost cruelly so. She rested a shaking palm against her belly. The twins shifted beneath her hand, as if sensing her fear. Hang on, babies, she whispered, her voice thin. Just hang on a little longer. She wasn't ready. Not like this. Not on a deserted freeway with a dead engine, a dying phone, and her ex-husband stalking toward her like a storm of his own. Maddie had survived many things before. Poverty, loneliness, the brutal unpredictability of the entertainment industry. But nothing had ever carved her open like the last year of her life. She had been 28, determined, hardworking. A lighting design engineer, one of the few women in a field dominated by men, piecing together gigs from music tours, film sets, and gala events. It wasn't glamorous, but she loved it. She loved bending light to emotion, creating moments of beauty for people who would never know her name. She had lived in a tiny apartment in West Hollywood, juggling 3 side jobs, saving every dollar she could. Her Toyota had over 200,000 miles on it. Her shoes always had at least one worn sole, and her fridge rarely held more than almond milk, leftover Chinese takeout, and whatever was on sale at Trader Joe's. But she had been proud, independent, free. And then came Colton Pierce. Millionaire, charm machine, master manipulator. He had walked into her life like he owned the air she breathed. Smooth voice, perfect smile, Manhattan-tailored suits. A man who promised safety in a world that had only ever offered Maddie struggle. He noticed her, chose her, pursued her, and she fell, hard. For a while it felt like a fairy tale. He moved her into his modern glass-walled home overlooking Beverly Hills. She swapped instant ramen for dinners at Nobu, walked red carpets on his arm, wore dresses she could never afford. His friends called her Colton's lucky find, and she believed them because she wanted to. But fairy tales rot when they're built on lies. Little things changed first. Colton criticizing her clothes, then her job, then her friends, then her ambition. "You don't need to work," he'd say. "Just be pretty, be available, be mine." She didn't notice the cage until the door slammed shut. When Maddie learned she was pregnant, she thought it would fix everything. That he would soften, that he would be happy. She was wrong. Colton exploded, accusing her of cheating, shouting that the babies weren't his, waving a falsified DNA test she later learned he had paid someone to forge. He threw her out of the house in the middle of the night with nothing but a backpack and her prenatal vitamins. She crashed on a friend's couch for a week before even that door closed. Colton's influence stretched far, and people were afraid to cross him. Still, Maddie fought. She got temporary jobs. She attended every prenatal appointment alone. She ate canned soup and saltines during the worst weeks. She hid the bruises on her heart, the terror in her chest, the truth about her financial ruin. And she held on to one sliver of light. Bo Lancaster, the billionaire she once saved in a collapsing stage accident. The man who looked at her, not through her. The man whose gratitude turned into quiet, genuine warmth during the brief weeks they crossed paths. The man she never told about the pregnancy because she didn't even understand what that night between them truly meant. Now as Colton approached through the rain, Maddie's breath came shallow. Her past, the pain, the abandonment, the fear, was closing in. But those distant headlights racing toward them, they carried the one person who could shatter that darkness. And destiny was seconds away from impact. Rain still lashed the freeway, but just a few miles away, the world looked entirely different. It always amazed Maddie how Los Angeles could split itself into two realities, one drenched in despair, the other glowing in quiet, unreachable luxury. Earlier that evening, before her car died, before the contractions clawed through her, Maddie had driven past Beverly Hills on her way home from a lighting rehearsal. She remembered staring at the glowing skyline, wishing for a life where she didn't have to worry about next month's rent or whether her twins would have diapers. Beverly Hills had always felt like a movie set she would never be cast in. The palm tree silhouettes, the perfectly groomed hedges, the warm gold light spilling from mansions tucked behind iron gates. Even through exhaustion, she had recognized one of the most iconic silhouettes. The Century, a twisting glass tower that housed some of LA's wealthiest elite. Its penthouses overlooked the whole city, stars looking down on stars. She remembered gripping her steering wheel and whispering, "Someday, maybe someday." She didn't know that the man who lived in the top penthouse, the entire 42nd floor, was on his way to her right now. Bo Lancaster. But back then, she only saw a world she'd never belonged to. Her own reality felt like the opposite. A tiny one-bedroom in West Hollywood with peeling paint, an aging mattress, and a kitchen sink that rattled when she ran hot water. A single lamp she'd salvaged from a set design job lit the whole living room. She used a plastic storage bin as a nightstand. It wasn't much, but it was the only place Colton couldn't reach her. Or so she'd thought. After he threw her out, Maddie walked miles in the dark because she had nowhere to go. The next morning, she'd swallowed her pride and taken the first job she could get, loading equipment at a studio warehouse. She hid her pregnancy as long as she could, until the manager found out and replaced her. From there, life became a series of contrasts she couldn't escape. While Colton sipped whiskey at five-star lounges with marble bars and velvet seating, Maddie sipped dollar store ginger tea to keep her nausea down. While he hosted glamorous events at rooftop restaurants with sweeping skyline views, Maddie waited for buses that never came on time. While he dined at Spago and ordered $80 steaks, she ate oatmeal for dinner. Sometimes twice a day. Even the hospital where she had planned to deliver felt like a luxury she barely deserved. UCLA Medical Center was a pristine palace of white light and glass walls, a place where wealthy families welcomed babies with private nurses and plush birthing suites. Maddie was supposed to deliver in a small clinic in Culver City. Cheaper, less crowded, less judgmental. But fate had pulled her toward the freeway tonight. Toward the storm, toward danger. Toward the very heart of LA's split identities. Her old Toyota now sat broken on the side of the road, a trembling metal shell under a storm that refused to let up. And yet, only minutes away, the glow of the city continued. Soft, warm, indifferent. Maddie pressed her forehead to the window and watched the distant skyline blur through rain. The Century Tower gleamed like a lighthouse. She didn't know that the highest window glowing in that tower belonged to Beau, who dropped everything the moment he received a mysterious alert from his private security network. Emergency, Madeline Rhodes located, medical distress. While she fought for breath in a dying car, Beau strode across his penthouse, past marble floors, glass walls, and the quiet hum of a $40 million home, grabbing his keys, his jacket, and something else. A determination she didn't know he still carried, because 2 years ago, she saved him. And tonight, he was coming to save her back. The storm roared louder as Colton Pierce stepped out of his SUV, slamming the door so hard the sound cracked through the rain-choked air. His tailored suit clung to his body, soaked almost instantly, but he didn't seem to feel the cold. He moved with the same entitled arrogance he always carried, the same predatory confidence that once made Maddie believe he could never truly hurt her. Now she knew better. "Madeline," he barked, striding toward her stalled Toyota like he owned the pavement beneath him. "Open the door." Her pulse slammed into her throat. She locked the doors instinctively, her grip trembling on the latch. "Go away, Colton, please. I'm in labor." "I don't give a damn what you're in," he snapped, planting his palms on the fogged window. His shadow swallowed her whole. "You think you can disappear? You think you can run off and ruin my name?" "I didn't ruin anything," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the rain. Colton leaned closer, his breath fogging the glass. "You're going to sign what I brought, tonight, before you embarrass me any more than you already have." Her stomach twisted. She knew exactly what he meant. The waiver, the document that would legally bind her to silence, the one he tried to shove into her hands weeks ago, claiming she'd forged his signature on tax files, files he himself had manipulated using her stolen identity. If she refused, she could be dragged into an investigation, charged, ruined. "You left me with nothing," she said, voice quivering. "You threw me out. You blamed me for children that aren't mine," he spat. "Stop pretending." His eyes flicked to her belly with cold disgust. "You always wanted attention. Well, you have it. Now open the door." A contraction slammed into her like a fist. She doubled over, gasping. The pain ripped through her spine, sharp enough to steal her breath. She sucked in air, tried to focus, but the world tilted sideways. Colton stepped back, watching her with a twisted mix of satisfaction and urgency. "Hurry up. I don't have all night." Thunder cracked, and then headlights, blinding. Fast, cutting through the rain like a blade. Colton turned, annoyed. "Who the hell?" The SUV skidded to a stop behind him, splashing water across the road. Its engine revved low, powerful, unmistakably expensive. The driver's door flew open, and out stepped Beau Lancaster. Not in a tailored suit, not in polished shoes, just dark jeans, a rain-soaked Henley, and an expression that could have frozen the storm itself. Determination carved into every line of his face. Maddie felt something inside her loosen, a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. Colton, however, laughed. "Oh, this is Rich, the billionaire knight in shining armor." Beau didn't acknowledge him. He walked straight toward Maddie's car, eyes locked on hers through the fogged glass. "Maddie," his voice cut through everything, rain, thunder, fear. "Are you hurt?" Colton shoved a hand against Beau's chest. "She's fine. She and I are handling our business." Beau didn't even blink. "Move." It wasn't a shout. It wasn't even loud. But it carried more power than anything Colton had ever wielded. Colton's smirk faltered. "You don't tell me what to do. This is my wife." "Ex-wife," Beau corrected, eyes steady. "And she is clearly not safe with you." Another contraction seized Maddie. She cried out, slumping against the seat. That was the breaking point. Beau grabbed the handle, yanked the door open, and knelt beside her, rain soaking his hair and shirt. "I'm here," he murmured, voice steady as stone. "I've got you." Colton lunged forward, furious. "Oh, no you don't." Beau rose to his full height, turning slowly. The cold, lethal fury in his eyes made even the storm hesitate. "You touch her," Beau said softly, "and I swear, Colton, You won't walk away tonight." For the first time, Colton Pierce looked afraid, and Maddie Rhodes realized the storm outside wasn't the only one about to break. Rainwater pooled around Maddie's feet as Bo gently helped her out of the Toyota, one hand bracing her back, the other shielding her belly from the cold wind. Her contractions were closer now, sharper, relentless, squeezing tears from her eyes. She clung to Bo's arm as if it were the only solid thing left in the world. "Easy," Bo murmured, guiding her slowly. "I've got you. Just breathe, Maddie." His calmness cut through the chaos like a warm light. For a moment, she almost forgot the storm, almost forgot her terror, almost, because Colton Pierce wasn't done, not even close. "You don't get to play hero," Colton sneered, stepping into their path. Rain plastered his hair against his forehead, his suit jacket whipping in the wind like a dark flag of anger. "She's coming with me. This is my problem to fix." Bo didn't bother looking at him. "Maddie," he asked softly, "do you want to go with him?" "No," she gasped, clutching her belly. "Please, no." That single word, please, broke whatever thin thread of restraint Colton had left. "Oh, cut the act!" Colton roared, pointing at her like she was a criminal caught red-handed. "You're not in pain. You're performing, like always, manipulating everyone around you." A brutal contraction hit. Maddie screamed, knees buckling. Bo caught her before she fell, lowering her gently onto the wet asphalt. "Call 911, Bo barked over his shoulder to his driver. His voice was sharp, commanding. "Now." Colton only folded his arms. "You heard her," he said bitterly. "The babies aren't mine. She'll say anything to get attention. She always has." Bo rose slowly, turning toward him. The rain seemed to pause. "Be very careful," Bo said, voice low, steady, cold. "You're talking about a woman in labor, a woman you threw out, a woman who is terrified right now because of you." Colton barked a laugh. "Terrified? She's been playing victim since the day I met her." Maddie sobbed, her breath shaking as she clutched the side of the car. "Stop," she cried. "Please, just stop." But Colton's voice only grew louder, desperate to dominate the scene. "You think you know her, Lancaster? You don't. You think she's some sweet little—" Bo stepped forward so fast Colton stumbled back. "I know she saved my life 2 years ago," Bo said. "I know she works harder than anyone I've ever met, and I know that if anything happens to her or those babies tonight—" He leaned in closer, eyes burning. "It'll be on your conscience first, and on my lawyer's second." For a moment Colton's mask cracked, his jaw clenched, eyes flickering with something darker than rage, fear. But he hit it fast. "You think you're scaring me?" he hissed. "You're nothing but a billionaire with a bleeding heart. And you," Bo replied calmly, "are a coward with a lawsuit coming." The sirens finally appeared, a faint wail in the distance growing louder with every second. Maddie's breaths were turning shallow. Her skin was cold, too cold. She felt the world spinning, the edges of her vision dimming. "Bio," she whispered weakly. "I can't." He knelt beside her again, gripping her hand. "Yes, you can," he said firmly. "Stay with me. Keep your eyes on mine. You're not alone. Not anymore." Colton snorted, but there was panic beneath the sound. "Fine. Call the ambulance, but I'm going with her. She's signing those papers before that investigation hits." Bo's head snapped toward him. "You're not stepping foot in the ambulance." "You can't stop me." Bo raised his phone. "I can when security footage from your own SUV shows you threatening an 8 months pregnant woman on a freeway during a storm." Colton froze. The ambulance rolled to a stop beside them, lights flashing blue through sheets of rain. For the first time all night, the storm wasn't the loudest thing. The truth was. And Maddie, shaking, breathless, terrified, was about to be pulled into a war between 2 men who both believed they had a claim on her future. The ambulance doors slammed shut with a metallic thud that echoed in Maddie's skull. The world swayed as the vehicle lurched forward, sirens screaming into the night. She lay strapped to the stretcher, rainwater still clinging to her hair, her breaths coming in short, panicked bursts. The paramedic pressed 2 fingers to her wrist. "Her heart rate's too high," he warned the driver. "Keep it steady. Ma'am, you need to breathe for me." I'm trying," Maddie whispered, her throat raw. But she wasn't. Not really. She was drowning. Every contraction tore through her like a blade. Every bump in the road rattled her bones. Every flash of red from the emergency lights sent her spiraling deeper into panic. The storm outside raged on, matching the storm inside her chest. She had never felt so close to collapsing, not physically but emotionally. This was the moment she had feared the most, the moment she finally broke. The cold interior of the ambulance blurred as tears filled her eyes. "Is something wrong with the babies?" she gasped. "Please, just tell me the truth." "We're monitoring everything," the paramedic said gently, "but stress isn't helping. You need to calm down." Calm down. She wanted to laugh or scream. Her whole world had been crumbling for months, piece by piece, wound by wound. The humiliation, the abandonment, the fear of raising twins alone, the crushing weight of bills she couldn't pay, the guilt of not knowing where she would bring her children home to after the birth. And tonight, the freeway, the storm, Colton's threats, it was too much. Her body trembled as she tried to inhale. The paramedic placed an oxygen mask gently over her mouth. "Deep breaths, Madeline. Slow and steady." But her mind wouldn't slow. It dragged her backward, to the moment everything shattered. She remembered standing in the marble kitchen of Colton's Beverly Hills home, holding the pregnancy test in shaking hands. She had been terrified but hopeful. She had imagined a family, even if fragile, even if imperfect. She had imagined him smiling, hugging her, saying they would figure it out. Instead, he had laughed, a hollow, cruel laugh that still echoed inside her. "You think I'm stupid? Those kids aren't mine." She remembered the yelling, the threats, the suitcase shoved into her arms, the door slamming behind her as she stood barefoot on the cold driveway, the night swallowing her whole. And then she remembered the quiet. That deep, terrifying quiet of realizing she had nowhere to go. Her chest tightened now as if someone had strapped iron bands around her ribs. "I can't do this," she choked out, tears streaming. I can't." Her voice cracked and a sob burst free. "I'm so tired. I'm so tired of being strong." The paramedic exchanged a worried look with the second responder. "BP's rising again." Maddie curled her fingers into the blanket. "Why does everything hurt so much? Why won't it stop?" Her vision blurred again, this time from something warm, not cold. A hand. Bo Lancaster's hand. He had forced his way into the back of the ambulance despite the protests, his hair drenched, his jaw tight. His presence filled the small space instantly, steady, grounding, unshakable. "Maddie." His voice cracked slightly, just once. "I'm right here." She blinked, stunned. You came?" "Of course I did." He brushed wet strands of hair from her cheek. "I won't let you do this alone." Her body shook harder as another sob escaped. "I'm scared, Bo." "I know." His thumb traced a trembling line along her cheek. "You don't have to hide it." For the first time in months she didn't. She cried, quiet at first, then violently, as if years of pain were breaking free all at once. She clung to Bo's forearm like a lifeline, her tears mixing with the rain on his skin. "I don't know how to be a mom," she confessed. "I don't even know how to take care of myself." Bo leaned closer, forehead nearly touching hers. "Then I'll help you," he whispered. "We'll learn together." She exhaled a shaky breath. The first breath that didn't feel like drowning. But the reprieve was brief. The ambulance suddenly jerked to the side. Lights flickered. The driver shouted something urgent, and Maddie felt the world tilt sharply. They weren't alone on the road anymore. Someone was following them, and the nightmare wasn't over. The ambulance lurched again, harder this time, sending medical supplies clattering to the floor. Maddie's heart slammed against her ribs as she clutched the stretcher rails. The paramedic braced himself against the wall. "What was that?" he yelled toward the driver. The answer came instantly, shaken, strained. "Black SUV behind us, it's tailgating, too close." Bo stiffened, his eyes sharpened with a cold, dangerous awareness. "Colton." Maddie's breath caught in her throat. No, he wouldn't." "Oh, he would," Bo muttered darkly. "He absolutely would." Another jolt rocked the ambulance, and Maddie's stomach flipped. Her contraction hit at the same time, sharp, crushing, tearing through her spine. She cried out, but her voice was swallowed by blaring sirens. "Bo," she gasped, reaching for him. "I can't. Something's wrong." He grabbed her hand instantly. "I'm here. Look at me. Keep your eyes on me." But she couldn't. Everything was spinning. Pain surged like lightning. Her throat tightened, breath refused to come. She squeezed her eyes shut, and a memory slammed into her. Not of Colton. Not of the night he kicked her out. But of that one night with Bo. The night that changed everything. It had been after a long event set up at the Waldorf Astoria Beverly Hills. Maddie had been the last to leave, sweeping glass off the stage after a lighting rig malfunctioned. She had been exhausted, aching, and fighting tears over Colton's latest cruelty. Beau had been there, hours after his own presentation ended, pacing the empty ballroom, rubbing his temples. He looked powerful, but tired, human, almost unbearably lonely. When the rig collapsed unexpectedly, she hadn't thought. She just moved, shoving him out of its path, shielding him with her body as metal crashed inches from them. The moment they hit the floor, he looked at her like he saw her for the first time. Like she mattered. Later, in the quiet of a dimly lit storage hallway, they talked. About fear, about loneliness, about wanting more out of life than pain. He wasn't a billionaire then. Not to her. He was just a man with tired eyes. And when she broke down crying, he held her. Not possessively, not controlling, just held her. One night, one moment of safety, one decision that changed every beat of her future. Back in the ambulance, Maddie's eyes flew open and she gasped for air. "Maddie?" Beau leaned closer, face etched with fear. "Stay with me." "I remember," she whispered, tears mixing with sweat. "I remember everything." Beau opened his mouth to respond, but another violent swerve threw him sideways. He slammed an arm against the wall to keep his balance. The paramedic yelled again, "He's trying to run us off the road." A cold wave washed over Maddie. "Beau, he's gonna hurt us. He's going to hurt the babies." "No," Beau said, voice low, razor sharp, "over my dead body." Then, the ambulance screeched as the driver made a desperate move, veering into the emergency lane. The SUV roared behind them, engine growling like a predator hunting prey. Maddie felt herself slipping, not just physically, mentally, emotionally. Her body, her fear, her future, it all felt too heavy. "What if the babies aren't okay?" she cried, voice cracking. "What if I lose them? What if I can't do this?" Beau cupped her face with both hands, forcing her to meet his eyes. "You listen to me," he said, his voice breaking for the first time. "Those babies are fighters, just like their mother, and nothing is going to take them from you. Nothing." She sobbed, a raw, broken sound. Another contraction hit, harder, sharper. She screamed, arching off the stretcher. Her blood pressure spiking, the paramedic shouted. "We're losing time. We need to get her to the hospital now." Suddenly, a deafening crash, metal against metal. Tires skidding, the world spinning, the ambulance jerked violently. And then, silence. No sirens, no shouting, just the distant echo of crunching steel. Beau's hand tightened around hers. "Maddie," he whispered, voice trembling, "whatever happens next, I won't let go. I promise." But the look in his eyes said it all. Something catastrophic had just happened. And the real twist was only beginning. A shrill ringing pierced the fog in Maddie's ears as her eyes fluttered open. The world wobbled in fragments. Red lights, shattered glass, and the wet metallic scent of twisted steel. She wasn't in the ambulance anymore. She was on a stretcher being rushed down a bright hallway, ceiling lights flashing overhead like strobe beams. Voices overlapped in frantic urgency. "Patient in active labor, blood pressure unstable, prep the OR. She's losing too much fluid, move." Maddie tried to lift her head, but the pain dragged her back down. "Beau?" she whispered. "Beau, where is he?" "I'm right here." His voice, low, steady, achingly close, washed over her like warmth in a world gone cold. Beau ran alongside the stretcher, hair drenched, shirt ripped at the sleeve, a cut bleeding above his brow. He looked like he'd fought a war, and maybe he had. She reached for him, her fingers shaking violently. "You're hurt." "I don't care." His hand wrapped around hers, strong and grounding. The SUV hit the ambulance on the side. "But I'm okay. I got to you before anything worse happened." A sob escaped her lips, part relief, part terror. "What about Colton?" she breathed. Beau's jaw flexed, eyes darkening. "He fled before the police arrived, but they have footage. They know exactly what he did." Maddie closed her eyes, tears slipping down her temples. "Of course he ran." Colton always ran when things weren't in his control. A sharp contraction tore through her, making her cry out. Nurses leaned in, checking monitors. "She's dilating fast, too fast. We need diagnostics before we decide between natural birth or emergency C-section." Maddie struggled to breathe, gripping Beau's hand like a lifeline. "Please don't leave me." She gasped. "I won't," he promised, voice cracking. "Nothing could pull me away from you." Her heart squeezed painfully. She believed him. She didn't know why it mattered so much, but it did. The door swung open into a private trauma room. Machines beeped, gloves snapped, nurses moved in synchronized urgency. A doctor approached, Dr. Kaylee Sloan, calm, centered, authoritative. Madeline, I'm Dr. Sloan. I'm going to ask you questions, okay? First, have you had any prior complications in this pregnancy? Maddie swallowed hard. They said early on there were 2 embryos, but one didn't grow properly. They called it a vanishing twin. The doctor paused. Bo froze. And did anyone mention an irregularity in your initial genetic screening? Dr. Sloan asked gently. Maddie's pulse quickened. No, they said everything was normal. Dr. Sloan exchanged a loaded look with her team. That's what we need to discuss, she said softly. Your recent scans show 2 fully developed fetuses, both healthy, but genetically, one of them doesn't match the other. Silence, cold, suffocating silence. Maddie blinked. I don't understand. Bo's face went pale, his breath catching so sharply it hurt to hear. One of your babies, Dr. Sloan continued carefully, is biologically unrelated to the father of the other. That is extremely rare outside of embryo transfer cases or lab errors. Maddie's heart tripped. No, that's not possible. I didn't do IVF. I didn't. Dr. Sloan stepped closer, voice gentle. Madeline, based on the genetic markers, one of the twins carries Lancaster DNA. The room stopped. Everything stopped. Maddie felt the world tilt beneath her. Bo staggered back half a step as if someone had punched the air from his lungs. Maddie, he whispered, voice breaking, I had no idea. I swear, I never. Her eyes widened as realization slammed into her. The failed embryo at the early clinic, the paperwork mix-up they brushed off, the strange phone calls she received afterward, Colton disappearing for hours that same week, the clinic he pushed her to use. No, Maddie choked. No, that means someone switched. Not someone, Colton. The truth hit her so violently she almost vomited. He never believed she cheated. He never doubted the pregnancy. He had known. He had known one of the babies wasn't his. Because he caused it. He had orchestrated the embryo transfer. He had silenced the clinic. He had blamed her to cover his own crime. Her scream tore through the room like glass exploding. Bo grabbed her shoulders as she shook uncontrollably. Maddie, look at me, breath, sweetheart. Hey, look at me. But she couldn't. Because the man who destroyed her life had engineered her pregnancy, and the child she carried was Bo Lancaster's by medical accident. Not fate. Or was it fate after all? The room spun like someone had tilted the world off its axis. Machines beeped in frantic patterns. Nurses moved around Maddie with practiced urgency, adjusting monitors, prepping IV lines, speaking in clipped medical shorthand she could barely comprehend. But all Maddie could hear was one sentence repeating in her skull like a hammer. One of the twins carries Lancaster DNA. Her body trembled so violently the bed rattled beneath her. No, that can't. There's no way. Bo stood frozen at her bedside, his expression caught somewhere between shock and devastation. His knuckles whitened against the rail as if he needed to hold on to something to keep from collapsing. Maddie? He whispered. I swear to you, I didn't know. I would never. But she wasn't angry at him. She was terrified. Her voice cracked as she choked out. Colton, he must have switched the embryos. He must have, oh my God, he planned this. Bo flinched, jaw tightening with lethal fury. Dr. Sloan stepped closer, gentle but firm. Madeline, listen to me. The babies are safe. They're strong. Right now, the priority isn't who the biological fathers are. It's you and delivering safely. Maddie nodded weakly, but her mind kept drifting to the past. Back to that night. The night that now felt impossible, unreal, almost magical, if not for everything that followed. It was late, 2 a.m., after the Waldorf Astoria event. Maddie had finished sweeping the last of the broken glass when she found Bo sitting alone backstage, elbows on his knees, head in his hands. You're still here? She'd asked softly. He looked up, exhausted but relieved. I didn't want to go home yet. She understood immediately. Loneliness recognized loneliness. They walked to a quiet service corridor lit only by an emergency bulb. The world outside the door, the luxury, the cameras, the expectations, melted away. In that shadowed hallway, Bo wasn't a billionaire. He wasn't powerful. He wasn't admired. He was a man grieving, a man trapped in a life colder than any storm. He told her about his childhood, raised in the Lancaster dynasty, groomed for leadership, smothered by legacy, about his father's constant pressure, about never being allowed to choose anything for himself. She confessed she felt invisible her whole life, that every time she climbed up, something knocked her back down. He had listened, really listened. And then, without thinking, she had placed her hand over his. "You're not alone," she whispered. Beau's eyes softened, breaking open. "And neither are you." What happened next wasn't passion. It wasn't drama. It wasn't even heat. It was two broken souls finding one moment of peace. A kiss. One kiss that carried more tenderness than anything she had ever known. And then, he stopped. "I don't want to take advantage of you," he said gently, touching her cheek. "You deserve more than someone drowning." She remembered smiling, a small, sad smile. "So do you." They stayed like that, forehead to forehead, breathing the same trembling air for a long, quiet moment. That was it. That was the night. No sex, no impulsive mistake, just connection, just solace. Which meant the embryo, the one carrying Beau's DNA, was never conceived naturally. Colton must have orchestrated it through illegal embryo manipulation. The realization snapped Maddie back to the present. Her breath hitched, her heart pounded. "Beau," she whispered, tears streaking her cheeks. "He stole your DNA. He used it without permission. He tried to control me, and he used your life to do it." Beau's expression darkened into something deadly, something primal, something protective. "He's going to pay for this," he said, voice trembling with restrained rage. "I swear to you, Maddie, he will never touch you or those babies again." Another contraction hit, ripping through her spine. She screamed, the sound raw and broken. Dr. Sloan leaned over her. "Madeline, you're dilated to 9. We need to move to the OR immediately." Beau squeezed her hand, his eyes burning with emotion she had never seen before. "You're going to be okay," he promised. "I'm right here. I'm not letting go." As they wheeled her toward the double doors, her breath caught, because standing just outside the glass, soaking wet, expression twisted with fury, was Colton, watching, waiting, and ready to ruin everything. The hospital's fluorescent lights cast a harsh, sterile glow over the corridor, reflecting off the polished floors and the rainwater dripping from Colton Pierce's suit. He stood at the entrance to the surgical wing like a man possessed, jaw clenched, hair plastered to his forehead, eyes wild with a fury that made nurses instinctively step back. The moment he saw Maddie on the stretcher, his voice exploded through the hall. "You are not taking her into surgery without me." The nurse pushing the stretcher flinched. "Sir, you need to step aside." "I will not step aside," Colton roared, grabbing the railing of the stretcher before security rushed in to pry him off. "She's my wife. She's carrying my—" He stopped, his gaze flicked to Beau, then to Maddie's belly, then back to Beau. Something shifted in his expression, panic, rage, dread swirling like poison. Beau moved fast, stepping between them, his body a shield. "You come any closer," he warned, "and they'll be wheeling you into the ER next." Colton shoved him. "You think you've won just because you showed up with your little billionaire hero act? You don't know anything about what's going on here." "Oh, but I do," Beau snapped. His voice was dangerously calm. "Because the geneticist just informed us that one of the twins matches my DNA. Now that's interesting, isn't it?" A hush fell over the hallway. Even the monitors seemed to pause. Colton's face drained of color. He opened his mouth, then closed it. A twitch flickered in his jaw. Maddie stared at him, her voice trembling. "You knew, didn't you?" "No," he said too quickly. "You're confused. Look at her. She's hysterical." Beau stepped closer. "She's in labor. You're hysterical." Colton's facade cracked, his mask slipping like wet paint. "She was supposed to sign the damn forms before anyone figured this out." The entire hallway froze. "What forms?" Dr. Sloan demanded sharply. Colton realized too late what he'd revealed. He backpedaled. "Nothing. Just legal clarification." She was confused. "You made me sign medical release papers," Maddie sobbed. "You pushed me into that clinic. You told me it was routine." "It was routine," he snapped. "Until you started digging, until someone at that damn clinic mixed things up, and now—" "Mixed what up?" Beau thundered. Colton's eyes darted around, trapped. Then the truth burst out, ugly and unpolished. "The embryo wasn't supposed to survive." Gasps echoed down the corridor. Maddie's blood turned to ice. What did you just say?" Colton ran a shaking hand through his hair, desperation overriding caution. "You weren't supposed to carry full term. I only needed documentation. I needed proof you weren't fit to testify against me. I needed leverage." Beau surged forward, murder in his eyes, and 2 guards immediately held him back. "You sabotaged her pregnancy?" Beau growled. "You endangered her life? You endangered the baby's. My baby." Colton pointed at him, spitting with jealousy and venom. I didn't know it was your damn kid. All I knew was the clinic messed up and suddenly her screenings weren't matching. I panicked. Maddie trembled violently, the heart monitor beside her spiking in alarm. You used me, she whispered. You used my body, my children, to cover your crimes. Colton's breath hitched. No, Madeline, listen to me. But the sound of running feet cut his plea short. Hospital security. 2 officers and a detective in plain clothes. Colton Pierce? The detective called, holding up a warrant. You're under arrest for obstruction, medical tampering, and endangerment. Step away from the patient. Colton's mouth fell open. No. You don't understand. Those babies, one of them. They're not yours, Bo said coldly. They never were. Colton lunged. But security tackled him to the ground. Maddie sobbed as she watched him dragged away, his screams echoing, You can't take them from me! You can't! The doors slammed shut behind him. Silence. Then Bo returned to her side, gripping her hand gently. It's over, he whispered. You're safe now. But Dr. Sloan rushed forward, eyes wide. No, she said urgently. It's not over. She's crowning. And with a sudden wave of pain so powerful it ripped the breath from her chest, Maddie realized the fight wasn't finished. It was time to give birth. Right now. The OR doors burst open, flooding Maddie with blinding light. Nurses rushed her inside, their movements swift and rehearsed, pushing the stretcher toward the operating table. The metallic smell of antiseptic filled the air. Her body shook uncontrollably, part fear, part pain, part the sheer force of labor overtaking her. Dr. Sloan's voice cut through the chaos. Team, let's move. Baby A is in distress. We don't have minutes, we have seconds. Maddie cried out as another contraction slammed into her. Please, I can't. Yes, you can, Bo said, gripping her hand as they transferred her to the table. He wasn't supposed to be inside the OR, but the nurses saw the desperation in her eyes and made an exception. He stood at her side, gown and gloves hastily thrown on, trembling but trying not to show it. Her fingers clutched his like a lifeline. Don't let go, she whispered. I won't. Ever. His voice was barely steady. Machines beeped frantically, one monitor showing baby A's heart rate dropping. A cold wave of terror rippled through the room. Dr. Sloan leaned over her. Maddie, we have 2 options. You push baby A out now, or we go straight to emergency C-section. I can't. Hurts. Her voice broke into sobs. Bo pressed his forehead to hers for one grounding second. Listen to me, he murmured. You're the strongest woman I've ever seen. You've survived things that would break anyone else. You can do this. His voice carried a fierce, trembling conviction. She opened her eyes and met his. The world steadied. Okay, she breathed. Okay, I'll push. Nurses slid into position. Dr. Sloan braced herself. On the next contraction, the doctor instructed, you push with everything you have. We're right here with you. The contraction came like a tidal wave. Maddie screamed, every muscle in her body igniting in fire. She pushed until stars danced across her vision, until her throat felt torn, until she tasted blood in her mouth. Good, keep going, just like that. Dr. Sloan's voice was determined. Bo's voice was breaking. You're doing it, Maddie. God, you're doing it. Another contraction. Another scream. Again. She pushed. Fought. Cried. Begged for relief. Begged for the pain to stop. Then, a sharp, piercing newborn cry ripped through the room. The sound hit her like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. Baby A. Dr. Sloan lifted a tiny, squirming baby into view. A girl, she said, breathless but relieved. Healthy. Strong lungs. The nurse rushed the baby to a warmer, but for a moment, just one precious moment, Maddie saw her daughter, pink, furious at the world, alive. Tears streamed down her cheeks. One more to go, Dr. Sloan said. Baby B is positioned well. Let's finish this. Another contraction surged. Maddie collapsed back onto the table. I don't have anything left. Yes, you do, Bo insisted, brushing hair from her face with shaking fingers. You're not alone. I'm right here. Now look at me. She lifted her gaze. You're almost there, he whispered. Bring our son into the world. Her breath caught. Our son. He hadn't even realized he'd said it. He didn't take it back. And something inside Maddie, something fragile, terrified and buried for so long, lit up. Okay, she whispered. Okay. The next contraction hit with brutal force. She screamed, pushed, every nerve burning white hot. Once more, Dr. Sloan urged. You're right there. Maddie gave everything, every ounce of fear, every ounce of strength, every piece of her heart. And then, a second newborn cry filled the OR. Deeper, louder, stronger. A boy. Her knees buckled inward as relief crashed over her. Bo exhaled a trembling breath that sounded almost like a sob. That's our boy. The nurse held him up briefly, tiny fists clenched, eyes squeezed shut, lungs already demanding the world make room for him. Healthy. Alive. Dr. Sloan smiled. Maddie, you did it. She broke into tears, exhaustion washing over her like a warm blanket. But as the babies were taken to the warming station, the overhead monitor beeped sharply. Louder, irregular. Bo's head snapped up. What's that, doctor? Sloan looked at Maddie, her expression shifting. Maddie, your vitals are dropping. Maddie tried to speak, tried to lift her hand, but darkness crept in around the edges of her vision. No, Bo whispered, his voice cracking. Stay with me, please, stay with me. But everything dimmed, faded, slipped away. And before she could see her babies again, Maddie Rhodes lost consciousness. The world went completely silent, not gradually, not gently, but all at once, like someone had ripped the sound out of existence. Maddie didn't feel the OR, didn't feel the cold table, didn't feel the IV in her arm. There was only darkness, thick, pulling, endless. And then, nothing. Beau Lancaster felt the floor drop beneath him when Maddie's head slumped to the side. The heart monitor beside her flashed red, its alarm blaring through the room in sharp, stabbing bursts. Her blood pressure's crashing, a nurse shouted. Doctor, Sloan immediately sprang into action. She's hemorrhaging. We need transfusion. Stat. Get me O negative and prep for uterine repair. Bo staggered backward, his hand flying to his mouth. No, Maddie. A nurse stepped in front of him, guiding him away from the operating field. Sir, you have to step back. We need space. I'm not leaving her, he choked out, trying to pull free. But his knees buckled, and he collapsed into the chair behind him, hands shaking uncontrollably. Dr. Sloan didn't look up as she barked orders. Her uterus isn't contracting. We're losing too much blood. Keep the fluids going. A second alarm joined the first. A different tone. A more urgent one. The anesthesiologist swore under his breath. She's going into hypovolemic shock. Bo's chest constricted so hard he couldn't breathe. He'd faced corporate wars. He'd negotiated billion-dollar mergers. He'd outmaneuvered ruthless CEOs and politicians twice his age. But nothing had ever terrified him like watching Maddie's life bleed out on that table. His voice cracked. Maddie, please, sweetheart, don't do this, don't leave. A nurse placed a hand on his shoulder. We're doing everything we can. But those weren't the words he needed. Not now. Not when the woman who saved him 2 years ago, who unknowingly gave him a child, was slipping away. She needs more blood, Dr. Sloan shouted. Hang another bag. Another nurse raced across the room, pushing the transfusion line into the port on Maddie's IV. Her pale skin made the redness of the blood bag look violent, obscene. Bo wiped at his eyes with the back of his sleeve, breath coming in uneven gasps. What caused this? He demanded, voice hoarse. She shouldn't be bleeding like this. She didn't have complications. Dr. Sloan finally looked at him just for one moment. And what Bo saw in her eyes was fury. Your ex-husband tampered with her early care records, she said tightly. There were warning signs, red flags, missing from her file. Bo's stomach dropped. Signs of what? Dr. Sloan didn't sugarcoat it. Uterine trauma. Likely caused during the forced embryo procedure. Bo felt the room tilt. Colton hadn't just manipulated her pregnancy. He had injured her, endangered her, nearly killed her. Rage burned through Bo's veins with such intensity that for a moment he couldn't see straight. He will pay for this, Bo said, voice trembling with cold, lethal promise. I will destroy him. Dr. Sloan returned her focus to Maddie, her tone sharp. Stay with me, Madeline. Come on, you fought too hard to stop now. But the monitor's beeps grew weaker, slower. A nurse murmured, she's slipping. Bo lurched forward, gripping Maddie's hand even though they'd told him not to. His voice cracked wide open. Maddie, listen to me. You are not allowed to leave. Do you hear me? His tears dripped onto her knuckles. You hear that crying? That's your babies. They need you. I need you. Please, come back. Silence. No response. Her chest barely rising. The room filled with frantic motion. Code Blue team, now. Keep compression steady. Push 1 milligram epi. Beau's heart stopped. His world narrowed to a single horrifying image. Maddie's still body surrounded by frantic hands. A nurse shouted, we're losing her. Beau pressed his forehead to her hand and whispered the truth he'd been too afraid to say. I love you. Please don't die. A long, piercing flatline filled the room. The monitor went dead. Beau's knees hit the floor. And just when darkness threatened to swallow every ounce of hope, a faint beat broke through the silence. Then another. Then another. Dr. Sloan jerked her head up. She's responding. We've got a pulse. Beau's breath collapsed in a sob, but Maddie still didn't open her eyes, and the fight for her life was far from over. The steady beeping of the monitor was the only sound keeping the room from collapsing into despair. It was faint and fragile, like the heartbeat of a small bird struggling beneath winter snow. Nurses exchanged breaths of relief, but no one relaxed, not really. Maddie had a pulse, but she was still unconscious, still pale, still frighteningly still. Beau stood frozen beside her bed, hands gripping the rails so hard his knuckles had turned white. His wet hospital gown clung to him, streaked with blood. Her blood. He'd seen injuries, he'd seen accidents, he'd even been in the room the night his own mother died. But nothing, absolutely nothing, compared to this. Why isn't she waking up? Beau demanded, voice hoarse. You said her pulse is back. Why isn't she awake? Dr. Sloan took a slow breath. She's stable, but her body is in shock. She lost a dangerous amount of blood. We've repaired the tearing, but recovery depends on her fight. Her fight. Beau swallowed hard. Maddie had fought everything her entire life. Poverty, abandonment, betrayal. She had clawed her way out of darkness more times than anyone deserved. Now her greatest fight yet was happening somewhere deep inside her, where no one could help her, where no one could reach her. Except, maybe she could hear him. He moved closer, lowering himself into the chair beside her. Her hand, small, icy limp, rested atop the white blanket. Maddie, he whispered, voice trembling. You did it. The babies are here. They're beautiful. They're strong, just like their mother. But she didn't move. A strangled sound left him, not quite a sob, not quite a breath. I need you, he whispered. I need you to open your eyes. I'm not ready to lose you. He stopped himself, throat tightening painfully. I meant what I said earlier, he murmured. When you were slipping away, I wasn't afraid because of the babies. I was afraid because I love you. The words cracked open something heavy inside him. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't poetic. It was raw, bare truth. I didn't realize it until tonight, he continued, brushing his thumb over her limp fingers. Or maybe I did. Maybe I've known since the night you saved me at the Waldorf. I just buried it because it scared me. Still nothing. Beau exhaled shakily. Please, come back to me. Inside the darkness, Maddie drifted. She wasn't in a hospital. She wasn't bleeding. She wasn't afraid. She was standing barefoot on the stage of an empty theater, the kind she used to work in. The air smelled of dust and velvet curtains. A single spotlight glowed down on her, warm and soft. But everything beyond the light was black. Endless. She wrapped her arms around herself, shivering. Hello? She called out. Is someone there? Her voice echoed into nothingness. Then, a faint sound. A cry. High-pitched, new, familiar. The babies. Her babies. No. She whispered, fear spiking. They need me. I have to get back to them. She took a step toward the darkness, but the stage boards shifted beneath her feet. A deep crack split the floor, stretching wider. The spotlight flickered. Cold wind sliced through the room. Maddie, a voice echoed from the void. Warm, deep, shaking. Beau. She spun toward the sound. Beau, I'm here. The light dimmed further. The crack widened, threatening to swallow her. Panic surged inside her chest. Beau, don't let me fall, she cried. Please. His voice grew clearer, closer, cutting through the dark. Maddie, come back to me. I need you. Her breath caught. Because she heard it, not in her head, not imagined, but real. He was calling her. He was waiting for her. She closed her eyes, forcing every ounce of strength left in her soul into one final push, and stepped toward the voice. In the hospital room, Beau lifted his gaze just as her fingers twitched. His heart stopped. Maddie, he whispered, rising to his feet. Her eyelids fluttered, her lips parted. Then a faint, broken whisper escaped. Beau? He choked on a sob. I'm right here, he breathed. I'm right here. But the relief was short-lived. Dr. Sloan suddenly frowned at the monitors. Wait, what's happening? Her levels. The alarms began to scream again. And just as Maddie opened her eyes, her body began to crash a second time. The monitor erupted into a shrill, panicked alarm. Not a slow beep, not a warning tone, a full, blaring code-red crisis. Dr. Sloan lunged to Maddie's bedside. Her heart rhythm is unstable again. BP is plummeting. Move! Bo froze for one agonizing second as the color drained from Maddie's face. She had just opened her eyes, just whispered his name, and now her body was spiraling again, violently, terrifyingly. "Maddie!" he shouted, grabbing her hand. "Stay with me! Look at me! Look at me!" But her gaze flickered, losing focus. Her lashes trembled. Her head drifted sideways. "No, no, no," he whispered, voice breaking. "Not again. Please, not again." Nurses swarmed her, lifting wires, attaching new monitors, bolting the bed rails up. A respiratory therapist turned her head, checking her airway. Dr. Sloan barked rapid orders like a soldier commanding a battlefield. "She's having a delayed transfusion reaction. Push epinephrine. Prepare crash meds." Bo felt his lungs clench violently. He'd already watched her slip once. He couldn't do it again. Not now. Not after hearing her speak. Not after she clawed her way back from the dark for him and the babies. "Bo," she whispered weakly, voice paper thin. "Don't let me fall." He pressed his forehead to hers, tears sliding hot and helpless down his cheeks. "I won't. I swear I won't. Hold on to me. Don't slip. Please, Maddie. Stay." Her breathing hitched, stuttered, shallowed. The anesthesiologist cursed under his breath. "She's crashing hard. Prep for defib just in case." Bo's heart split open. "No, you can't shock her. She just gave birth." Dr. Sloan met his eyes, a fierce, determined storm inside hers. "We're not losing her." Then to the team. "Hang the steroids. Flood with fluids. Tighten her airway. Move." The room spun in a blur of motion. Hands, wires, lights, voices. And Bo felt like a man watching the world collapse through thick glass. He couldn't help her. He couldn't reach her. He couldn't replace her strength. All he could do was keep holding her hand, even as her grip slipped. Inside the darkness again, Maddie felt the floor of the stage shaking beneath her. The crack widened wider, threatening to swallow her whole. Her body felt heavy, too heavy. Her chest burned. Her lungs refused to fill. "Bo!" she cried out, voice echoing in the vast black theater. "Where are you? I can't find you." Then, a soft cry. Baby A, her daughter. Then another cry, stronger, fiercer. Her son. "No," she gasped, turning desperately toward the sound. "Don't leave me. I'm coming. I'm—" The stage beneath her crumbled. She slipped, but instead of falling, something grabbed her wrist. Warm, steady, unshakable. Bu's voice thundered through the dark. "You come back to us, Maddie. Come back to me." And with the last flicker of strength inside her, Maddie reached back. In the OR, her body jolted. Dr. Sloan sucked in a breath. Her BP is climbing. Slow, but climbing. She's fighting. Nurses exchanged stunned looks. Bo gripped her hand tighter. "That's it," he whispered fiercely. Come back to me." Her eyelids fluttered. A tiny breath escaped her lips. "Maddie," Bo whispered, voice trembling, "if you can hear me, our babies are waiting. Please, don't leave them without knowing their mother." A single tear slid down her cheek. Then, her fingers curled around his. Weak, barely there, but alive. "She's stabilizing," Dr. Sloan said with relief flooding her voice. "We've got her. She's out of immediate danger." Bo let out a breath that shook his entire body. He pressed a trembling kiss to Maddie's forehead. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for coming back." But before the room could exhale, a nurse rushed in from the hallway, breathless. "We have a problem," she said, voice shaking. "Security found the hospital back entrance forced open." Bo straightened instantly. "What are you saying?" The nurse swallowed hard. "It's Colton. He's inside the hospital, and he's not alone." The room went ice cold. Bo's fingers tensed around Maddie's hand as the nurse's words sank in like shards of glass. "Colton is inside the hospital, and he's not alone." Dr. Sloan froze mid-chart. The anesthesiologist cursed under his breath. A nurse instinctively moved to shield the incubators holding the newborns. Bo's voice dropped to a deadly whisper. "How the hell did he get in? He was arrested." The nurse swallowed hard. "He was, but someone bailed him out, immediately. And according to security, he came in through the emergency stairwell with another man." "Another man." The words punched through Bo like a bullet. "Who?" he demanded. "We don't know," the nurse said. "Security is trying to track them, but the cameras on the east corridor were disabled." Bo's jaw clenched. Colton hadn't just escaped, he'd planned this. Dr. Sloan stepped forward, her voice suddenly sharp and commanding. "We need to secure this floor. Lock down the wing. Move the babies to NICU now." "No." Bo's tone sliced through the room. "They don't leave her side." Dr. Sloan stared at him. "Mr. Lancaster. Bo, your children could be targets." Bo's eyes flicked to Maddie, Still unconscious, still fragile, the oxygen line hissing softly beside her. Then to the two newborns. Tiny and helpless, Colton knew everything now. The truth about the babies, the truth about the DNA, the truth about the lie he'd built his life around. And a cornered man was the most dangerous kind. He wants leverage, Bo said darkly. He wants control. He'll go after the babies first. As if responding to the words, one of the twins let out a soft cry from the warmer. A sound too pure for a world this dark. Maddie stirred weakly, her fingers twitching. Bo. Her voice was barely there, but the fear inside it was unmistakable. He rushed to her side. I'm here. You're safe. She blinked, dazed. What's happening? Bo hesitated. He didn't want to tell her, not while she was this fragile. But Maddie sensed the shift in the room, the tension, the fear, the urgency. Her gaze drifted to the frightened nurses, the barricaded OR door, the cluster of security officers gathering outside. Bo, she whispered, voice trembling. He's here, isn't he? He closed his eyes for a painful second. Yes, but he's not getting near you, I promise. Her breath hitched. Don't let him take them. Nothing in this world, Bo vowed, could keep me from protecting your children. She flinched at the phrasing. Your children. Bo caught it immediately. Our children, he corrected softly. I meant our children. Tears filled her eyes, but before she could respond, the overhead intercom crackled. Security alert. Unauthorized individuals in the East Wing. All staff proceed to lockdown protocols. The lights flickered. A surge of electricity hummed through the walls. Dr. Sloan snapped to action. Everyone move. We need to relocate the patient now. But the moment the team unlocked the OR doors, a chilling voice echoed from the hallway. Well, look what we have here. Colton? He stepped out of the shadows like a serpent, soaked in rain, eyes burning with vengeance. Another man stood behind him, a bulky figure with a shaved head and a duffel bag. A hired enforcer. Bo stepped in front of Maddie instantly, body tense and ready. You made the biggest mistake of your life coming here, Bo said. Colton smirked. Oh? Because last I checked, the babies have two fathers. Maddie gasped, gripping the sheets. That's not how it works, Bo snarled. No? Colton hissed. I helped create that mess. I orchestrated every step. Those kids wouldn't exist without me. So don't you dare think you can erase me from this picture. Bo's nostrils flared with rage. You didn't create life. You created suffering. Colton shrugged. Same thing, really. The enforcer stepped forward, cracking his knuckles. Time's up. Hand over the babies. A nurse screamed. Bo lunged. Chaos erupted. Security swarmed the hall, shouting commands. Colton reached for the incubators. Maddie, weak but desperate, tried to push herself off the bed. Pain sliced through her abdomen. She collapsed, crying out. Maddie, Bo shouted. A gun appeared, pulled from Colton's jacket. Everyone froze. Colton pointed it at Bo's chest. You take one more step, he said coldly, and the billionaire dies tonight. Bo didn't flinch. He stared death straight in the eyes. Then shoot. Behind him, one of the babies began to cry. Colton's hand trembled, and his finger tightened on the trigger. Colton's hand shook around the gun, the metal trembling under the fluorescent lights. His finger hovered over the trigger, knuckle whitening. The entire hallway fell into suffocating silence, broken only by the newborn's faint, confused cries. Bo didn't back down, didn't step aside, didn't show fear. He stood like a wall between Maddie and the danger stalking them. Put the gun down, Bo said, voice low and steady. This ends right now. Colton's laugh was sharp, deranged. You think you can order me around? After everything I've lost? After everything she took from me? She didn't take anything, Bo replied. You destroyed yourself. Colton's eyes snapped with fury. She ruined my name. She made me look like a fool, and now the world knows the twins aren't mine. They never were, Bo said, because you tampered with her medical files. You stole genetic material. You used her body like a lab project. Shut up, Colton roared, the gun jerking wildly. They should have been mine. All of this should have been mine. Behind him, the enforcer reached for the incubator again. A tiny wail filled the air. Baby A, Maddie pushed herself up from the bed, pain ripping through her stitches. Don't touch her, she screamed, voice raw and shaking. Don't you dare touch my children. Colton spun toward her, wild-eyed. Oh, so now you want to be a mother? After you lied to me? After you? I never lied. She sobbed. You broke me, Colton. You hurt me. You used me. But you don't get to hurt them. Her voice fractured, but her words didn't. You don't get to hurt them. Bo took advantage of the distraction, stepping closer, inch by inch. But Colton noticed. His hand whipped back around, aiming directly for Bo's chest. One more step and "Ow!" Bang! The sound tore through the hallway like lightning. Maddie screamed. A nurse cried out. The babies wailed. Security reached for their radios. But Bo didn't fall. He didn't even flinch. The bullet was stuck, lodged in the reinforced glass of the surgical light fixture above him. The enforcer had bumped Colton's arm at the last second, throwing off his aim. Colton cursed, cocking the gun again. But he didn't get the chance. The enforcer grabbed the incubator, and Bo charged. They collided hard, the force sending the gun clattering across the floor. Security dove in. Nurses scrambled for cover. The enforcer swung at Bo, a brutal hook aimed for his jaw. Bo ducked, countered, drove his elbow into the man's ribs, sending him crashing into a supply cart. Colton lunged after the fallen gun. No, Maddie screamed. Bo saw it too late, Colton's fingers closing around the weapon again. He lifted it, but a security officer tackled him from behind, slamming him to the floor. The gun skittered across the tile, spinning to a stop beneath Maddie's bed. Officers pinned Colton down as he thrashed like a trapped animal. You can't take them from me, he bellowed. She owes me. She owes. One officer shoved his face into the tile. You're done, Pierce. They cuffed him as he kicked, screamed, and spat venom. But Maddie didn't see any of it. Because the moment the danger fell away, her vision blurred. Her breathing turned shallow. Her body crumpled backward onto the pillows. Maddie? Bo rushed to her, panic clawing at his throat. Maddie, look at me. Stay awake. Her lips parted, trembling. Are the babies safe? The question broke him. They're safe, he said, voice shaking. You protected them. You protected all of us. She exhaled shakily, tears sliding down her cheeks. I'm so tired, Bo. I know, but stay awake. Stay with me, please. She tried. She really did. But her body, still bleeding, still weak, still shaking from trauma, began to fade again. No, Bo whispered, voice cracking in a way no one had ever heard from him. Not again. Maddie, please, stay. Her eyes fluttered, once, twice, then closed. Her hand slipped from his. Bo's world shattered. Doctor, he roared. She's going under. Help her! And as alarms shrieked through the hallway again, Maddie slipped into unconsciousness for the third time. But this time, she wasn't fighting it. Darkness didn't swallow Maddie this time. It held her, softly, gently, as if protecting her from the pain she'd endured. There were no collapsing stage boards, no shadows clawing at her, no echoes of her past chasing her through the void. Just warmth, a distant warmth, a voice, a steady heartbeat. She drifted toward it slowly, as if swimming through heavy water. Come back to me, Maddie, please. Bo's voice not broken, not desperate this time, but anchored, pulling her back toward life. Then, light. Her eyelids fluttered. A faint hum filled her ears, the quiet drone of hospital machines, the soft hiss of oxygen. Something warm cupped her hand, thumb tracing a gentle rhythm across her knuckles. She blinked again. Bo was there, sitting at her bedside, elbows on his knees, dark circles carved beneath his eyes, his hair messy like he'd run his fingers through it 1,000 times. He hadn't left. He hadn't slept. He hadn't moved except to breathe. And at the sight of her waking, his breath caught. Maddie? His voice came out cracked, disbelieving. She parted her lips, a weak sound escaping. Bo? He shot to his feet, leaning over her, brushing her hair from her forehead like she was made of glass. Oh God, he whispered, breath trembling. You're here. You're really here. Her throat felt raw. What happened? You scared the hell out of us, he said. Your blood pressure crashed again. They moved you to ICU. You've been asleep for almost 18 hours. 18 hours. Her eyes widened in alarm. The babies. They're safe. His hand tightened around hers. They're in NICU, healthy and strong. The nurses say your daughter has lungs like a future opera singer. He managed a small smile. And your son won't stop kicking the incubator walls. Her breath shuddered out in relief, tears slipping down her temples. Bo gently wiped them away. They're proud of you already. Maddie inhaled shakily. I didn't think I'd make it. Bo swallowed hard, emotion thick in his voice. You almost didn't. His jaw tightened, eyes glistening. You coded once, twice. I watched you slip away and... His voice cracked. I thought I lost you. I thought I'd be raising our son without you, and that I'd have to tell our daughter she'd never meet her mother. Her breath caught. Our son? Bo froze, realizing what he'd said. realizing he didn't regret it. He knelt beside the bed, taking both her hands in his. "One of the twins is biologically mine," he murmured. "But I don't care whose DNA is whose. They're yours. That makes them mine too. I'm here, for both of them, for you." Her eyes softened, filling again. "No one's ever chosen me like that." "I've been choosing you," Bo whispered, "since the night you saved my life." She closed her eyes, overwhelmed. Then another thought slammed into her. "Colton," she tensed. "Bo, he tried to take them. He tried to hurt you." "Did he?" "He's gone," Bo said, voice turning to steel. "Police took him into custody. There's no bail this time. The DA's involved. He's facing federal charges, medical tampering, attempted kidnapping, attempted homicide." Bo's eyes darkened. "And when my attorneys finish with him, he won't see freedom for decades." Maddie exhaled shakily. "I was so afraid." "You don't have to be. Not anymore." Silence stretched, heavy but gentle. Then Bo did something he had never done before. He leaned forward, slowly, giving her time, and pressed his forehead to hers. "I meant what I said, Maddie," he whispered. "I love you. Not because of the babies, not because of the past, not out of guilt, but because you're the bravest, kindest woman I've ever met." Her heartbeat stumbled. "And I'm going to spend however long it takes proving that you are safe with me, that you are wanted, that you are loved." A soft sob escaped her. This one not from pain, but release. She lifted a trembling hand to his cheek. "I want that," she whispered. "I want us, but I'm so scared." He kissed her palm, slow, reverent. "Then be scared. I'll hold you through it." Before she could answer, a nurse peeked in with a warm smile. Someone small is very eager to meet his mama. Behind her, a tiny cry echoed down the hall. Their son was coming. The nurse wheeled in a small hospital bassinet, its clear walls reflecting the soft glow of the ICU lights. The room, once filled with alarms and chaos, felt suddenly sacred, quiet, warm, suspended in a hush that made Maddie's breath catch. "You ready to meet him?" the nurse asked gently. Bo moved closer, instinctively bracing Maddie's back so she could sit upright. His touch was tender, cautious, like he feared she might break. But she didn't break. Not this time. Not now. She nodded, tears already forming. The nurse carefully lifted the tiny bundle, swaddled in a pale blue blanket, and placed him into Maddie's trembling arms. The world stopped. Maddie stared down at her son, her breath hitching. He was impossibly small, his skin soft and pink, his eyes blinking against the light. A tiny fist escaped the blanket and curled toward her, as if reaching for a mother he somehow already knew. "Oh," Maddie whispered, voice cracking. He's perfect." Her son squinted, then let out a tiny grumble, a little protest at being moved. Bo laughed under his breath, the sound breaking with emotion he couldn't hide. "He already sounds like he owns the place." Maddie looked up at Bo, eyes shining. "He looks like you." Bo swallowed hard. "I'm honored. But honestly, I see you, his strength, his fight, his spirit." She pressed her cheek gently to the baby's head. For the first time since the nightmare began, she felt whole. Not healed, but whole. Like pieces of her heart, scattered and bruised, were slowly returning to her chest. Bo stepped closer, his hand hovering near the baby's back. "May I?" he asked softly. Her answer was immediate. "Yes." He placed his palm on their son, barely touching, as if afraid his touch might be too heavy. But the baby reacted instantly, nestling closer, as if instinctively recognizing the man who had fought for his life before he even entered the world. And something inside Bo shattered. His breath trembled, his voice thickened. "He knows me." "Of course he does," Maddie said. "You were his first protector." Bo lowered his forehead to the edge of the bassinet, swallowing the emotion threatening to spill. "I didn't think I'd get this," he whispered. "A family. A second chance at something real." Maddie looked at him. Really looked. The exhaustion, the bruises from fighting the enforcer, the cut on his brow, the deep, bone-level fear still lingering in his eyes. "You almost lost both of us," she said softly. "I would have traded everything I own," Bo replied, "if it meant bringing you back." Her heart squeezed. He wasn't exaggerating. He meant every word. The nurse quietly stepped out, giving them privacy. Silence filled the room, gentle, warm, unbroken. But Maddie's voice finally brushed through it. "What about our daughter? Can I see her too?" Bo smiled softly. "She's on her way. They were feeding her, and she did not appreciate being asked to wait." Maddie laughed, a fragile sound, but real. Bo's hand moved to her cheek, thumb wiping a stray tear. "You're glowing," he said quietly. I probably look like I got hit by a truck, she whispered. You look alive, he corrected, and that's everything. Before she could respond, the door opened again, and a second nurse rolled in, another bassinet. Their daughter. Maddie gasped softly. She's beautiful. Bo exhaled a shaky laugh. She screamed at 3 doctors, 2 nurses, and 1 poor janitor. I think she's going to run this family. Maddie reached for her gently, and the nurse settled the baby into her free arm. 2 babies, 1 on each side. Her son, her daughter, alive, safe. Bo sat on the edge of the bed, one arm behind her shoulders, the other touching the baby's blankets with reverence. For the first time, the 4 of them formed a circle. Quiet, intimate, unbreakable. Maddie leaned against Bo, voice soft as a prayer. This feels like a second life. It is, Bo whispered, kissing her temple. And no one will ever take it from you. But before the moment could settle, Bo's phone buzzed in his pocket. He frowned, pulling it out to check the screen. A message from his head of security. You need to see this. Now. Urgent. Bo's face darkened, because the fight wasn't over. Not yet. Bo's expression hardened as he read the message. His entire posture shifted, protective, focused, dangerous. Maddie felt the change instantly. What is it? She whispered, tightening her arms around the babies. Bo didn't lie. Security found something. Something big. Her breath faltered. About Colton? About all of it. His voice dropped. And it's worse than we thought. Before Maddie could respond, her ICU door opened. Bo's head of security, Grant Turner, a broad-shouldered ex-federal agent, stepped in, holding a tablet and wearing a grim expression. We've secured the floor, Grant said quietly. No unauthorized personnel. Colton's being transferred into federal custody as we speak. Maddie exhaled in shaky relief. But that's not the end of it, Grant continued, handing Bo the tablet. This is. The screen lit up with still images, security footage from the fertility clinic Maddie had visited months ago. Footage Colton had insisted she use. Footage she'd never seen. Maddie felt her stomach knot as Bo pressed play. There was Colton, storming into the clinic office, slamming documents on the desk, paying someone cash, threatening them, pointing to a file with Maddie's name on it. Another clip, a doctor hesitating, Colton grabbing him by the collar, shoving him against a wall. The clinic employee terrified, nodding rapidly. A third clip. A container labeled with Bo's genetic identification code, one that should never have been outside a private lab, being handed over illegally. Maddie's whole body went cold. No, she breathed. No. Grant spoke calmly, but his words carried weight. He bribed the clinic to tamper with your embryo transfer. He stole genetic samples. He falsified records. He intended to control the pregnancy and you. Maddie felt the babies stir at her chest, sensing her heartbeat spike. Bo's jaw flexed, eyes burning with a fury she'd never seen. He trafficked genetic material. That's a federal felony. Grant nodded, and the clinic workers flipped the moment they were questioned. Colton paid them off, threatened them, destroyed evidence, but not enough. Maddie swallowed hard. So, he really did everything I feared. Everything, Bo said, voice trembling with controlled rage. And everything he did will now be public record. Grant cleared his throat. Which brings us to the next part. He tapped the tablet again. A live news broadcast flashed across the screen. A reporter stood outside LAPD headquarters, cameras swarming behind her. Colton Pierce, well-known nightclub mogul, was arrested today, facing charges including genetic tampering, attempted kidnapping, medical fraud, and attempted homicide. Authorities say the investigation is expanding to include financial crimes and international trafficking violations. Maddie felt her pulse stutter. The reporter continued, sources confirm his ex-wife, Madeline Rhodes, and her newborn twins are safe under hospital protection. A restraining order has been issued. The father of one of the twins, Billionaire CEO Bo Lancaster, was instrumental in providing evidence leading to Pierce's arrest. Bo muted the screen as soon as Maddie's name was said aloud. She stared at her hands. Her children, her new reality. I never wanted my life to become news, she whispered. Bo touched her shoulder gently. Maddie, this isn't your shame, this is his. Her voice cracked. But everyone will know I was manipulated. No, Bo said firmly. People will know you survived, that you protected your children, that you fought when the world tried to break you. Maddie's throat tightened. Grant added quietly, and you're not alone anymore. Bo reached for her hand. If you want, I'll issue a press statement. Protect your privacy. Shield the babies. Remove your name from the narrative. For a long moment, Maddie hesitated. Then she shook her head. No, she whispered. Let them say my name. Let the world know what he did. Let other women know they're not crazy when someone they trust hurts them. Her voice steadied. I'm done hiding. Beau's eyes warmed with respect so deep it made her chest ache. Before anyone could speak again, the door opened and Dr. Sloan entered, smiling, relieved. Maddie, she said gently, your vitals are strong. You're healing beautifully, and you have visitors in the NICU waiting for their mom. Maddie blinked. Visitors? Dr. Sloan grinned. Your babies. They're ready to be moved to your room. Maddie gasped, hand flying to her mouth. Beau squeezed her fingers. Ready to meet them as a family? He asked softly. She nodded, tears falling freely. Yes, she whispered. More ready than I've ever been. But outside the window, a shadow moved, someone watching, because not everyone wanted this family to stand strong. Morning sunlight filtered through the hospital windows, warm and golden, the kind of gentle light Maddie hadn't felt in what felt like years. She sat propped up in her new private recovery suite, a soft blanket draped over her legs, her daughter sleeping on her chest and her son nestled in Beau's arms. For the first time since the nightmare began, everything was quiet. Everything was calm. Everything was safe. She could finally breathe. Beau paced slowly near her bed, rocking their son, whispering little promises she knew he intended to keep. His jaw wasn't clenched in fear anymore. His shoulders weren't carrying terror. Instead, he looked peaceful, proud. Hull. Maddie touched her daughter's tiny hand, her eyes misting. They're beautiful, she whispered. Beau glanced over, eyes softening. That's their mother. She blushed, not because of flattery, but because of how he said it. Certain, sure, true. Before she could respond, Dr. Sloan entered, cheerful and relaxed. Well, she said, checking Maddie's chart, your vitals are excellent. Bleeding's controlled. You're healing fast. I'd say you're officially on the road to full recovery. Maddie exhaled, emotions swelling in her throat. Thank you for everything. Dr. Sloan squeezed her hand. You did the fighting. I just stitched you back together. When the doctor stepped out, Grant Turner entered next, security file in hand, expression grim but resolved. Maddie, he said gently, you deserve to know Colton is being transported to a federal detention facility. With the evidence we provided, he won't see daylight for a very long time. She didn't tremble. She didn't panic. Instead, a strange, powerful calm settled over her. Good, she said quietly. He can't hurt anyone else. Grant nodded. And as for the shadow outside your window last night, it was one of our agents. Extra precaution. You're safe, truly. A weight lifted from her chest. When he left, the room fell into a warm hush again. Beau approached, lowering himself to sit beside her on the bed, their son cradled in his arms, their daughter cooing softly on her chest. A family. Their family. He looked at her with an expression she'd never seen on anyone before. Full devotion, full softness, full admiration. Maddie, his voice was quiet but steady. There's something I need to say. She held his gaze, heart pounding, breath trembling. You don't owe me anything, she whispered. No, he said, shaking his head, but I owe you everything. He placed their sleeping son into the bassinet, then gently lifted their daughter from her chest so he could take both her hands in his. When my life was chaos, you saved me. When your life fell apart, you fought your way through hell and protected these babies even when you had nothing. You are the strongest woman I've ever known. Her eyes filled with tears. And Maddie, he continued softly, I don't want this to be temporary. I don't want to be just the father of our son. I want to be your partner, your protector, your home. Her breath caught. You don't have to answer today, he said, brushing a tear from her cheek. Or tomorrow, or next week. But when you're ready, I want us to build a life together. Maddie let out a shaky laugh. Beau, I've been ready since the moment you pulled me off that freeway. He froze, eyes widening. You already have my heart, she whispered. I just didn't think I was allowed to keep yours. Beau leaned in slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. She didn't. Their lips met, soft, warm, full of everything both of them had survived to get here. The kiss wasn't fiery or rushed. It wasn't desperate. It was steady, grounding, the beginning of something big enough to hold all their scars. When they pulled apart, both babies let out tiny cries, as if joining in the moment. Maddie laughed, wiping tears. We're really doing this, aren't we? Bo kissed her forehead. We already are. Outside, news vans reported Colton's downfall. Inside, nurses whispered about the miracle family in room 417. But none of that mattered, because Maddie Rhodes finally had what she'd been denied all her life: safety, love, a future. Her children, her voice, her heart, her home. A new beginning earned, fought for, deserved. And as she held her babies close with Bo's arm wrapped around her, she knew the darkness was finally behind her. The light was hers now, to stay. So that's how our story closes. And if you're still here, my dear friend, it means something in this journey touched you in a way that words alone can't explain. Maybe it was Maddie's fight, maybe it was the babies, or maybe it was the quiet reminder that even after the darkest nights, we can rise again. Life is heavy sometimes. People betray us, our hearts get bruised in places no one sees. But healing is real, strength is real. And as Marcus Aurelius once wrote, the obstacle is the way. What breaks you can also build you, if you let it. Maddie didn't survive because she was fearless. She survived because she kept moving, one breath at a time. That's courage. That's life. And Epictetus said something powerful too. You cannot control what happens, but you can control how you respond. Maddie couldn't choose what Colton did to her, but she chose her comeback. She chose love. She chose peace. And maybe, friend, maybe you're choosing something for yourself right now too. If this story stayed with you, if it made you feel something real, hit the like button, share it with someone who needs hope, and don't forget to subscribe. We have many more stories to heal together.